Today we're going to switch gears and go back to the coordinate plane and start with the equation for a circle. And this equation is called the center radius equation because you can get the center and the radius from it. So here it is. And if you remember the vertex form of a parabola, this is quite similar to that because we can find the center, just like you could find the vertex from the vertex form of a parabola. We can find the center of the circle the same way. We have x minus h, this is a binomial squared, plus y minus k squared, and that's equal to the radius squared, where the center is going to be hk. Notice the signs. It's going to be the opposite. When we have subtraction here, then my center is going to be at positive h and positive k. So the center again is hk and the radius is r. So in the equation, the radius is squared. You'll have to take the square root of the right-hand side to find the actual radius. Here's a couple of examples. So in this equation here, we have x minus 4 squared plus y minus 2 squared is equal to 81. Well, my center is going to be 4, 2. And the radius is going to be the square root of 81, which is 9. I'll let you fill in the next one. And remember, notice the signs. When I have subtraction, I have a positive value. So when I have addition, that value is going to be negative. I'll work a couple of examples here where you just state the center and the radius for each circle. So in this example, I have x plus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 7 quantity squared is equal to 169. So the center is going to be negative 1, 7, because it's the opposite sign. So my center is going to be negative 1, 7, and the radius is going to be the square root of 169, and that is a perfect square, so my radius is 13. In my second example, I have x squared plus y plus 2 quantity squared, and that's equal to 20. Well, in this case, when I don't have anything added or subtracted to the x, that value is going to be 0. So my center is going to be 0, negative 2, and then the square root of 20. So 0, negative 2, and the radius is the square root of 20, which if you simplify, that's going to be 2 radical 5 when you're done. Now we can also go in reverse. We can start with the center and the radius and then write the equation of the circle. You just have to remember the numbers go in with the opposite sign and the radius has to be squared. So if I have a circle where the center is at 7, 3 and the radius is 4, here's how I would write that. It would be x minus 7, and remember to square it, plus y minus 3 squared, and that's going to be equal to 16. So here's a second example. I have a center at negative 5, 0, and my radius is radical 3. So again, it goes in as the opposite sign, x plus 5 quantity squared plus y squared, because we have a 0, and that's going to be equal to 3. Remember, when I square a radical, I get the radicand. So here's a different type of problem. I'm going to write the equation for each circle given the endpoints of a diameter. So here we have a circle whose endpoints are at negative 5, 0 and 5, 0. And what we have to do, we need to find the center. And to find the center, that's the midpoint formula. And then we need to find the radius. And to do that, we have to use distance. So the midpoint of this guy, the midpoint formula is going to be the sum, negative 5 plus 5 over 2. And in this case, it's going to be pretty easy. This guy has its center at the origin. So its center is at 0, 0. The radius would be the distance formula. From the midpoint, you got to be from the middle to one of these guys. So we'll just choose the second guy here. So it's the square root of 5. It's going to be 5 minus 0 squared plus 0 minus 0 squared. So that ends up being the square root of 25, which is 5. So this formula ends up being x squared plus y squared is equal to 25. And we will do the second one in class. We can also write an equation from the graph. Here we have a graph of a circle, and its center is at negative 3, 3. And we just count the squares to figure out the radius. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like a radius is 4. So to write that circle equation, first I'm going to write down that my center is negative 3, 3, and the radius is 4. All I have to do is put it in the formula. X plus 3 squared plus y minus 3 squared is equal to 16. Finally, we can graph a circle given its equation because we have the center and the radius. So here's my equation. From that, I'm going to pull out the center, and that's going to be at 4, negative 2. And then remember, the radius is going to be the square root of 9, which is 3. So I come over here and I graph the center, 4, negative 2. And then if you have a compass, it's pretty easy to sketch the circle. Otherwise, you just come out here and you count out a radius of 3 all the way around, and then sketch your best circle, which for me is not very good on here. If you have a compass, it's going to look a lot better. So all the ones that I skipped over, we're going to do in class. Again, circle equations really aren't difficult once you understand it, especially since you've already seen something similar to this in vertex form for parabola.